Hello, welcome to this edition of Intelligent Video Today. I'm your host, Steve Vonderhaar. Joining us on today's episode, Ben Tatta, Chief Commercial Officer over at Operative. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be with you.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and talking a little bit about the world of advertising. Operative has a one leg in each camp, if you will, a little bit in the legacy realm and also taking steps in the online advertising realm. Tell us about the company and how you're positioned in today's market.
Sure, happy to. So, Operative has been around for about 20 years. Obviously, got started in the early days with kind of more conventional media, linear broadcast television in particular. We're currently one of the largest independent global media technology companies out there. And we focus on both kind of the content side of the house with content management, scheduling systems, all the way through to the advertising side, which we spend a lot of time on these days, given the abundance of devices and streaming services that are out there. And as you pointed out, we do have a leg in both worlds. Both kind of the linear world as well as the digital world. And what's interesting today is seeing, how everything's converging. Whether that's taking linear broadcasts, pushing those through OTT and connected TV, as well as a lot of the AVOD and SVOD services that are out there.
So I guess one of the big areas for growth in 2025, looking at the year ahead, is going to be that realm of online advertising. What should we be expecting from Operative in the coming year in that realm of the advertising business?
Now, it's a great question. We recently rolled out what we consider kind of our flagship platform, something called AOS. And it's a cloud native system, meaning it's really designed to move a lot of what normally would be done in a lot of premises-based systems and pushing it up to the cloud. And also by moving it into the cloud, what we can do is allow our clients, media companies, publishers to drive interoperability across their ad stack. So when it comes to digital, what we're seeing is that even though in the early days, a lot of it was conventional digital advertising executions, which would come in the form of banner ads and pre-roll ads and post-roll ads. Now with a lot of the publishers moving into linear streaming, securing linear rights, as well as the large broadcasters pushing aggressively into linear streaming, we're finding that there's a need for a blend of both, something that basically can accommodate a lot of the unique attributes of linear advertising, which is typically bought on an upfront basis, pre-scheduled, very fixed ad positions and ad breaks and so forth. There's a lot of instructions and methods that are applied to linear that now need to get applied to digital. But at the end of the day, there is a massive transformation happening as audiences move to digital devices. I mean, obviously during COVID, that really accelerated the shift in consumption. So now it's really all about how do we kind of redefine the linear experience within those digital services. And over time, I think pretty much everything will be distributed over IP.
And as you take that move to IP, it's all about data, 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 isn't it? How is data going to impact the evolution of the advertising market, in your opinion?
It's really interesting. It's kind of a convergence of things. On the one hand, you've got like the demise of the cookie and the challenges associated with establishing identity, whether that's in the form of an IP address. Historically, it's been a cookie. But at the same time, with this big push for direct to consumer on behalf of on the part of the media companies and the large network groups, they're really building out their first party data sets because now they have a direct relationship with the consumer. They've got registration, subscription credentials. So on the one hand, even though kind of the open web is challenged because of the demise of the cookie, when it comes to premium linear services, most of those are, and premium content in general, most of those are subscription based. And even if they're ad supported, you typically authenticate with the application. So they have identity information, basically, just to verify not only the viewers, but also the impressions based on the ads that are served. So I actually think, I think more positively about data going forward in the sense that now the producers and publishers are going to have access to large repositories of first-party data so that they can really get more sophisticated, more intelligent with how they serve their consumers, whether it's on the content side of the house or the advertising side of the house. I think the real challenge is with all of this new census-based data, how do companies manage that in kind of a low latency way? And that's obviously where we spend a lot of our time.
Well, when you say you're feeling good about data, that makes two of us because in the AI realm, data is everything. How is AI going to help media publishers pull more revenue out of their existing inventory?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, one of the benefits of us being broadly distributed is that we have a massive volume of advertising running through our systems on the AOS side and our what we call our order management systems, which are used by publishers and media companies to book and sell and provision all of their campaigns. We've got about $60 billion worth of media running through the system. What that translates to is a lot of really interesting metadata that could be used to garner insights. And I think historically, a lot of that data was used for things like measuring the performance of ad campaigns and providing a post report for a client, and then obviously settling up on billing and things like that. But with the entry of AI and machine learning in particular, we can now analyze that data in a much more sophisticated way so that the sellers can make uh, more informed decisions in a much more immediate basis. Instead of waiting till the end of the campaign to measure the performance, now the sellers can manage performance in almost real time and look at it across a number of different dimensions. So, what that translates to, getting back to your question, is being able to make much more dynamic decisions about placement and about pricing. What's the optimal placement? What's the optimal, whether it's a network or a program or whether it's adjacency? This ad performs better when it's adjacent to this content. And then ultimately, if that performance improves, then obviously the premiums and the pricing improve as well. And then on the back end, as we use census-based data to help media companies provide performance reports, they can then optimize the campaigns, which involves allocating the best set of inventory and obviously being able to charge appropriately instead of, when you think of the upfront, kind of the pricing and a lot of the investment decisions are made well ahead of these campaigns running. And I think with AI and a lot of the big data, a lot of the price optimization and inventory optimization can happen much more dynamically, which really translates to better yield for the publisher and better performance for the advertiser and or the agency who's buying the advertising.
Yeah, now you're living in the real world of advertising, so I'm interested in your opinion on this next topic. In the AI video realm, we have this lofty vision of developing personalized video ads. We draw information from a user's profile, and we have a custom celebrity digital avatar go on the screen and pitch us a personalized idea or theme or concept uh, tailored specifically to our needs. How far away or how close are we to that vision of AI driven personalized ads in the online video realm?
Now, it's a great question. We spend a lot of time about kind of optimizing the targeting of ads and the placement of ads. There needs to be just as much attention on the actual creative and making sure that that creative resonates with the intended audience. And, historically, linear, obviously being a mass reach vehicle, typically, there weren't the technology wasn't available, neither the ability to basically version ads or deliver version creative. But I think with addressable advertising, which has really grown, I mean, it's pretty ubiquitous in the states. It's nearly 80 million households or so are enabled with addressable advertising in linear streams, so linear broadcasts. Instead of kind of a one-to-one, this is kind of a one to many, but it's really specifically focused around identifying unique segments of audiences. So maybe there's three or four or five different segments. You know, a good example would be, in-market car buyers, and being able to determine if it's Ford, being able to determine kind of, those audiences that have a high propensity for purchasing trucks versus sedans. It's a good example of being able to take one ad unit and one avail and split it and making sure that the relevant creative goes to the right audience. So I think that's kind of the first step forward into kind of truly personalized creative. And then to your point, at what point does it get to where digital is with dynamic decisions and a multitude of different creative that could be served? And I think where we see that going is kind of ad versioning, where components of the ads, if you think of like a 30-second spot broken down into three components, where there's like an intro message, middle part of the message, and then kind of the call to action or the finale on the back end. I see those being rotated in and out. So depending on the audience, depending on where they're located, they could customize the offer in a very dynamic way based on where that viewer is located or what their propensity to buy would be. The other thing this does is it allows, even though it does give the ability of versioning, a lot of those, if it's done in advance, that kind of modular ad can get pre-approved. Because the other thing with television that's unique is, it's a brand safe environment, but it's also an environment where strict creative controls are. So a lot of the creative needs to get pre-approved. And it's kind of challenging if you have, one campaign with 100 pieces of creative, to be able to traffic that in a real dynamic way. So you do have to get it pre-approved. And that's where these modular ads can kind of help, because even though you could have maybe 20 different variations of creative, they're all using components of the same spot. So you can get that all pre-approved. But I think over time, where I think it might be interesting is, especially if you get into like multilingual households where you could do it, you could layer in a different audio track. If you had different languages, or if you're running a campaign across Europe, runs across a few different countries, you could actually kind of localize the creative by wrapping in a unique creative track. And then the other thing I think that could be done pretty dynamically would be like dynamic offers or calls to action that are in essence like an overlay or a banner on top of a piece of creative. There you could have 100, 200 different variations, that are very custom. I think, TV will always be somewhat of especially in the linear sense, when you talk about live linear, that's always going to be a broadcast approach, meaning it's one to many. Now, granted, it might be one to different segments, and you could kind of version the creative based on those segments. But I think the ability to kind of merge what is currently done with banners online with what's being done with video in the form of an overlay, in the form of a personalized call to action, that's where I think things will evolve. When will we get to the point where you've actually got custom creative generated dynamically using, I don't know, avatars? That to me is 10 plus years away.
Yeah.
But it's coming. I do think that AI plays a role in optimizing creative, but I think a lot of it is really refining a piece of creative so that it resonates more, versus having like an endless array of different versions that could be served up.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is it's more an iterative evolution than an immediate revolution in terms of AI driving personalized video advertising. And I think that's a good reality check for us all in the AI video realm, to know that, hey, these things take time, and but we can still generate value incrementally through some of the iterative or step-by-step processes that you talked about there. Now, one of the big steps that you're taking in the coming years, Operative is going to be looking at offering a self-service advertising platform. Tell us about that. How does it work, and how can people begin leveraging those capabilities on a DIY basis?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's an area of significant opportunity for especially the larger brands, that are recognizable to the advertisers. If you think about the large network groups and the shows, obviously, that have a lot of marquee value. Basically, what it is e-commerce for advertising. The I think conventional digital advertising, because of the onslaught of programmatic, it's made it very easy to set up and purchase a campaign. When it comes to premium inventory and linear in particular, typically that goes through this manual steps there. You have an agency, you have the sellers, there's the upfront, and so forth. Where we see self-service playing is to really automate the provisioning of campaigns. And yes, you could buy advertising using a self-serve platform. We call it AOS Ad Manager, but it's designed to do two things. One is to serve kind of like mid-size advertisers, that may or may not have an agency, that buy direct, and they'll hop onto Google Ad Manager and Google AdWords and purchase directly there, and maybe the social media platforms. So it's a tool that basically mirrors that capability, where a mid-size advertiser, a smaller advertiser, can actually log on and purchase inventory direct to publisher, meaning they can buy direct from a network group. I think Disney is probably the most advanced when it comes to this. They launched their own ad manager a couple of years ago, and they've onboarded thousands of small to mid-sized advertisers. I think the other area where it's really helpful is in just kind of campaign optimization, where you have hundreds of campaigns running, and giving the buyers the ability to log on to make adjustments to those campaigns. Historically, when it comes to linear, that's done manually, where someone will request modifications to the schedule based on how it's delivering or based on shifting priorities from the brand. And that's usually a manual process and workflow. What AOS Ad Manager allows is for the buy side to actually log into their campaigns, monitor their performance, but also make adjustments, based on whatever rules are established. And that's a game changer, just because it speeds up the process, but it also puts the buyers in control of kind of managing the campaigns and also monitoring how they're performing. And I think that's an area. I think I like to refer to it as like programmatic in a box, because it allows you to do automated transactions and kind of the provisioning of campaigns in a self-serve way that is very similar to programmatic. The only difference is, rather than intermediaries, between the buyer and the seller, this is the seller's ability to provide the tools directly to the advertiser and or the agency, and it provides a lot of the programmatic capabilities, automated buying, the ability to flight and monitor and manage campaigns directly, but it puts it right in the hands of the buyer, and it eliminates a lot of the intermediaries or the hops that have to take, within the programmatic ecosystem.
Yeah, so AOS is certainly a big initiative for you as we close down 2024. As we look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months or so, last question for you: do you see AI impacting the Operative product roadmap at all in 2025? Looking ahead.
Absolutely. We rolled out Adeline, which is our AI platform, and we are integrating it not just with AOS, we're integrating it across all of our systems. And we actually were fortunate enough to win an award, an AI award, at the IBC a few months ago, which we were really delighted about. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that the application was actually up and running. There's a lot of prototypes and a lot of POCs happening right now, but the fact that we have a production release of Adeline is really exciting. And where we see this going is, initially, obviously AI can be helpful in providing kind of guided assistance to a user, similar to some of the Copilot applications out there, using natural language to both answer questions, also to guide people through a process of a particular piece of software, but also for what we call task automation. So if someone wanted to just check pricing for a particular campaign, instead of logging in and going 3 levels deep to find what rate this particular advertiser had during this date, you can actually just either type in or speak the request, and the AI agent will go fetch that. Where we see this going as far as the next step is to really automate workflows where you could actually build a campaign and build a campaign within the AI agent, and using natural language, build a campaign for this client over this period with this rate. And what Adeline will do is go and check all the historical data it has for that particular advertiser, and kind of render a fully built campaign that could then be modified. To us, that's a huge game changer, and it's a big area of opportunity for our clients, because you can spend 20, 30 minutes building a campaign, and now it could be done in a couple of minutes. And I think the long view that we have, and that a lot have in the industry, is where you get it to the point where you have autonomous functions, where you don't have campaign analysts going in to analyze campaign and making adjustments. Where you're using machine learning and Gen AI to basically optimize in an autonomous way. And so you may be setting some rules around that and then letting the system run. And I think over time, that's really where the game-changing opportunity is, because right now, advertising in general involves a massive ecosystem with a large number of people that are managing different aspects of it. And I think the more that we can automate and use AI to drive more intelligent and dynamic decisioning, and over time, that being autonomous, that could be a real game changer.
Yeah, you're using words to describe the increasing interest in agentic AI, agents that go out on behalf of organizations to accomplish specific mundane tasks. And so I think that you folks at Operative are spot on in terms of how they can really develop a significant impact within existing software solutions moving forward. Great insight, and great catching up with you, Ben. Thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Steve. Take care.
And we thank you for taking the time to watch today's episode. If you want access to more insight from industry thought leaders like Ben Tatta of Operative, just go to the Intelligent Video Today YouTube channel link right there. Subscribe to the channel and you get notifications of future interviews in the Intelligent Video Today series. For IntelliVid Research and Intelligent Video Today, I'm Steve Vonderhaar. Thanks for your time.